There we go.
Right. Good afternoon, Northampton. It's just another lovely day, winter afternoon. I'm sure everybody is all happy with the lockdown is finished. There's lots of shopping, lots of happy people around town. And today we have a beautiful group of women that are going to talk to us this afternoon about what they do, and also as part of the Northampton BAME Women's event, and it's the 16 days of activism. I would like to just introduce my co-host, that's Marianne. And Marianne and myself are going to be co-hosting this event from Northampton. We are both ladies that are based here in Northampton. And we just have an amazing group of women who are going to teach us one or two things. So stay tuned. And Marianne, what are you looking forward to? Sorry, Marianne, you're mute.
Yes, I have. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited for this afternoon. What I'm looking forward to is getting all the pointers on how to be the best public servant I can ever be. I'm sure there are many in the room, and share some challenges. We'll share some of the things that we can do to empower each other and to move on to supporting ourselves as BAME women and other women as well out there. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm excited to see so many of my friends on already. And yes, we're going to have a good time. Understand?
Yes, I think I'm looking forward. And without wasting your time, I'm not as interesting as these ladies that are about to come on. So we're going to start with Pauline Woodhouse. She's been around in Northampton. She's one of those amazing women we find in different spaces around Northampton, and she's going to introduce herself. Pauline Woodhouse is one of the things that she's said about herself was that she was one of the youngest magistrate that sat on the Oxford bench. And so she's a trailblazer, and she chairs the Northampton Borough Council Women's Forum. She's involved in a lot of community engagement programs, but one of the things is that she's visible. We see her in Northampton, we meet her in different meetings and forums. So Pauline, it's always a pleasure to have you. So, you know, we'll start with yourself, Pauline. What are the obstacles that BAME women face in public spheres? Right, Pauline, you're mute. You have to unmute, please.
Right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Anstance, for that introduction. And in terms of, could you repeat the question, please? Because I've forgotten.
Yeah, so what are the obstacles to BAME women being active in the public sphere?
Okay, to be honest, and I can only speak from, I guess, my perspective, okay, and speaking to other individuals that I meet. Life is full of obstacles, okay, but it's about perseverance and being committed to the things that you feel that you need as a person, okay? It's not up to anyone to bring things to you. It's up to you to kind of go get it for yourself. And part of doing that is sometimes about being humble in your spirit and just taking time and pursuing your dreams and hopes. Everything's going to have obstacles, but it's about how we deal with it and how we overcome it.
Yeah, that is a good start. It's about perseverance, like you said. It's about embracing the fact that life will throw lots of lemons, as they say, at you. And it's what you want to use that lemon for, whether you're going to make lemonade or you're going to throw it away. So yes, that's a good start. So one of the obstacles is actually perhaps to embrace the fact that there are obstacles, but perseverance in those obstacles is what we need. Marianne, who's the next guest that you want to introduce to the panel and the audience today?
I hope Pinda has been able to fix her Oh, I can see you. We can go over to Pinda and she can answer the same question. Some of the obstacles you've faced in public.
And just before she says, it's just that to remember that her background is early years, and Pinda is also she's in HR, so she knows a lot about human resources. But the other part is that she's a Conservative county councillor, which is amazing and a big achievement at this time as well, with all the kind of challenges that women face. So yes, go on, Pinda.
Thank you. First of all, it's really wonderful to join you all today, and thank you for asking me to be part of this panel. And actually, I think it's the first time I've been able to get involved in any kind of BAME work in Northamptonshire. A lot of the work that I've been doing has been quite national and trying to get women involved that way. So it's nice to have this space in Northamptonshire as well. So I suppose for me, if we talk about barriers, I think there are quite a lot of barriers that women naturally come against. Naturally, we're having to take care of our families, our children, and then culturally as well, we have our parents, you know, as they're getting older, or in-laws, and there's all kinds of expectations that come of us. And I think women naturally tend to pick up loads of different responsibilities and spread themselves quite thinly. So one of the things that I wanted to say was actually, it's again about perseverance, what you pick up and you know, what you do with that. My personal experience of getting into the public sector, getting elected was, you know, I was the only person that looked like I did in the room at the time, you know, and that to me was, you know, it was daunting to be quite frank. But actually part of me was like, actually I need to do this, I need to be there, and I need to be the voice, I need to, you know, I believe in this. My father was a councillor as well, so he was in fact a Labour councillor. I'm Conservative, so you know, in our family we have quite interesting debates. But I think the main thing for me was I had a lot of support. Whatever my views were, my father, my family still supported me, and having that internal support within your family I think is really, really important, particularly when you do have children and other caring responsibilities. And like I said, I work as well, so you know, you've got your career commitments and you're trying to pick all that up at the same time. I think as well, for me, politics is really dominated by, you know, across the sphere, it is kind of dominated by the typical white male, still, sorry to say it, you know, kind of figures that we have, and we have to be able to challenge that as well and be able to kind of speak up. When I got selected, you know, I had 3 people that left the party because I was a woman and I had children, and they thought I couldn't win. So this isn't anyone that was elected, this was just members. And I think, to me, the biggest win for me was winning that election and working hard and showing that actually, no matter what the obstacles you have, you know, in front of you, you can do this. So, you know, for me personally, if there's any woman that is thinking of standing at this point, I would not think about whatever party you want to go for, just go for it and be that voice that, you know, really, if you really believe in it, do it. So that's what I want to say at this point.
Well said.
Fabulous. And I we saw your little boy, and we know.
Oh, that was my daughter. My son's 13. He doesn't want to know.
Oh, who came in the frame?
That was my daughter. She's 5.
Oh, right. Yes. And those are the kind of challenges, and that's the reality for women, that we have families. We, you know, I have kids and they are in the basement. Like, I have to bribe them to get on to these things. So those are some of the things that we have to juggle. And what was sad when you spoke was that the challenges of the fact that as a woman you were standing, and then on top of that, a woman of color, and people left the party just because you were standing. And in this day and age, it's really appalling to you know, to experience that, because you think people are woke, you know, so to speak, but actually
there are so many different mindsets, and you have to be able to challenge those mindsets. But at the same time, it was Stephen Mould, who's now the Police and Crime Commissioner, he's the one that selected me while I was pregnant, and he's the one that told me to stand in the election. So I was pregnant with my daughter at the time. And I remember him saying, doesn't matter. And I remember having my daughter, I joined the management team for the association for the party at the time. And she was 3-4 months, you know, still breastfeeding her. She was in a little cradle next to me, something people hadn't seen before. So it's almost like you have to put yourself out there and you have to challenge those views, because some people's mindsets, they're not ready to be challenged, but you have to challenge them.
Yeah, that is really a great introduction, that, you know, don't let people's views stop you from taking up that public space if you're ready for it. Marianne, what do you have to say? Because you're an aspiring councillor as well.
Yes, I think for me, the biggest challenge women face, it's not even external, it's not even external forces. The first challenge we have is to overcome ourselves and building on our self-confidence. And the fact that we're talking about waiting to, the thing is with politics is that you don't wait for someone to give you a seat. There's the first Black American Congresswoman, her name was Shirley Chisholm, and she said, if they don't give you a place at the table, bring your folding chair. You cannot wait to be invited. This is the challenge, the biggest challenge women have, because we're so used to being invited to places. And when it comes to politics, you have to self-recruit. And that's why we don't have women in politics, because we are waiting to be recruited. We are waiting for someone to say, you're good enough. We are doubting ourselves. Our self-esteem is, you know, we are facing so many other challenges such that we don't feel, am I good enough? If my work and home balance is going to be okay? Look at what is happening to women in public service. They're talking about your hair, talking about your weight, they're talking about your shoes, they're talking about your makeup. Do I want to put myself in that place where everyone has something to say about me? So you really have to put yourself forward and be willing to face some of those challenges that come along with the job.
Super. Melita, Brian, you have, I think, you've done this. What we're talking about is not new to you. You're a Nottingham City Councillor since 2007. That's a long time. And you were once Sheriff of Nottingham, Mayor in 2012 to 13, and founder of the Black Achievers in 2011. So you are a woman in the public spaces. How do you do it? And what are some of the obstacles that you faced from way back for some of those that are starting, like Marianne, and what, you know, Pinda and Pauline have said? What's your take on the obstacles? You unmute, Melita. Do you want to unmute yourself, please?
We keep forgetting this little button at the bottom, don't we?
That's okay.
Thank you very much for that. Can I say before I start, you know, today is such a poignant day. The 5th of December, this was the day that I came to the UK in 1962.
Wow.
So today makes me 57 years in this country. When I saw the date, I thought, that means something, I just couldn't think. But for me, I think what's been said so far is very, very true. But to add to that, my public life started when I became a trade union officer. A trade union rep. And like you've all said, you know, I had young children and juggling children, going to work, having to take them to nursery. And I didn't, public life never, I think it's something that I just stumbled upon accidentally. And because when I became a trade union office rep, I didn't think further than that, to be honest, because I thought I was just helping my colleagues and the department that I work. But I must say, through that, it just escalated. And like I think one of the ladies said, you know, they had a bit of help, because I was fortunate enough, you know, and I have to speak for myself as well. I was fortunate enough to have some encouragement, you know, if I wanted to go further in the trade union, this is what I should do, and that's what I should do. And that's where it all started for me. You know, when in 1980, I would say 87, when I joined the trade, when I joined the party and joined the trade union, and getting on, it does poses its challenges, because sometimes, you know, people can stand in your way of your progress. They're not very helpful. So those are sort of some of the challenges that you've got to overcome, and, you know, say, you know, something, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And if you're, you know, and it's very difficult, you know, for a start, if somebody, one of the things I put down here, you know, it could be lack of opportunities. If you want to do something, lack of opportunities is something that gets in our way. You know, our color, for the first thing, that's something that everybody sees, which shouldn't be. And that gets in your way, because that's become a barrier for you to get in further. But for me, I must say, I've been quite fortunate, you know, to say I've had some really good people around me who helped me, who encouraged me, to help me to get to where I want to be. And it's hard, you know, it's hard, but you've got to have perseverance. You've got to carry yourself in such a way that, you know, I've always said to young people, whenever I meet a young person, says, always try to keep your name intact, because that is what's going to carry you through. Because the first time that you blemish your name, that is it. You know, it doesn't matter what you do after that, you don't get a chance. Some people doesn't give you a chance after that. So you've got to keep your name, make sure that your name is as clean as possible. You've got to be very humble, like the first speaker said, you know, sometimes you've got to give away your rights to make sure that you get to where you want to get to, because it's not always plain sailing. And it's but if you can ride above all of those things, I'm sure you're able to get to where you want to get to in the end. I don't know if I think that's it. That will be me for the moment.
Okay, thank you so much, Melita. Marianne, she says that you have to give up something. You have to give up your rights. You have to keep your name, you know, clean, and the integrity of your name is really important. And humility in public spaces. What are your thoughts?
I think the name is key, and I know that from personal experience. Then when I came to this country, there were things that I would have been tempted to do, because it would have been a shortcut maybe for me to live in the UK. But I knew something in me just knew I had to do the right thing. That has paid off, really paid off, because if you keep your name clean, then that means people will not have anything over your head. Just, you know, they won't have anything to pull in, you know, to pull your name in the mud. They might try, but if you keep your name clean, I think that's what we need to be telling our young people, that is one of the things I have learned that is so, so important, because people forget, and especially now in terms of social media, that's something, and it's posted on social media. Believe me, it's going to be available for so many people to see, and for so long. Unlike the olden days where something could happen, no one would know. This time, your name is key. Keep it clean. Social media, everyone is watching. Everyone has a phone. Everyone is recording what you're doing. So if I was going to say anything, that's my takeaway so far.
Okay. Is Rufia with us now? No, I can't see Rufia, but is Rashan, are you here? Can you join us?
Yes, I am here. I can see you. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so yes, lovely to see you, Rashan. Roshan, you've heard what others have said so far, and the same question goes to you. What are some of the obstacles that you have faced? You are the mayor of Ramsgate, and you run your own business. You're an activist. You are also a trailblazer in Ramsgate. So what are some of the obstacles that you faced as you moved in those public spaces?
Thank you, and I would like to thank Marian for inviting me. Yes, I don't know if you know about Ramsgate or where I am. This is in Thanet, where Nigel Farage came twice to stand for parliamentary candidate. So my first time when I stood in election was 2015, yes. That time, Thanet actually was the UKIP-orientated district. And that time I lost all my seats by small numbers. As after 4 years, in 2019, I joined in an election again for local election. But before that, in 2017, I stood for Kent County Council election and also for the parliamentary candidate for South Thanet, where I increased about 8,000 votes, Labour share of vote from the previous years. I would say my obstacles would be that, being an Asian woman, is my color comes first. And I think I'm sort of like 1 in 1,000, I would say, in my area when I first started. Now it's getting, we're having more and more Asian community moving into the area. But those days it was very hard. And being also, having my own business was one of the most, important obstacles that, if I do something wrong, like our friends were mentioning, your name has to be clear. And so that was very important. But I think I had to really, really work hard for this. Well, within my party colleagues, I mean, they were also behind me all the time. The business was doing this, business was doing that. So there was always in the paper during the election. And they tried to ruin my business in a way because of, they didn't think that, well, they were, I think, I thought, I would say that I were in front of them. I was chosen by the local forum, also the Kent forum, everyone else, but the local people, I think they were really, there was a lot of jealousy against me. And I think like my other friend said, that you just have to persevere yourself. If you want to make a change for your community, I thought this is me. I came to Ramsgate 32 years ago, and Ramsgate needed a change. And becoming, elected in 2019 for the local election with the highest majority of votes for the district as well as Ramsgate Council, that was incredible. I could see, how the community actually were supporting me, and they really welcomed me with open arms. I really thank my community for that. And to achieve this, I would say that I have been always a community activist. I've been everywhere. I would do anything for my community, not only for Asian community, from people surrounded me. If I'm very approachable, and I enjoy talking to people. I do go and I listen to people. So people will come to me for any help that I could give it to them. And having a business in the town center, I would say that made it much easier for me because people knew where I am. So it's my business become like a community hub. And through this, I think I also become people's friend, and I managed to win people's heart. I would say, and and also I would say my labor colleagues as well. I thank them for helping me throughout last few years for now. And since becoming mayor, yes, it was very challenging again. I mean, I have heard so many different things, racial attacks and this and that, but I wouldn't go on these type of things. But again, sometime I would cry, go to an event, I hear things that I wouldn't like to hear, or anybody wouldn't like to hear. But then again, no, come on, this is only, one, there will be always few in our community, anywhere. That will try to spoil your day or spoil your career or whatever you're trying to achieve. And so those are small things. I don't really take it seriously, but I think, like you said, if we want to make a change, we as a BAME movement, we have to come forward to our community, and to win the community, win the other community, the people of other nationality, other religion. Just get involved. I'm involved with the interfaith. I'm involved with the multicultural society. So I am sort of, like as a community, I'm always there. And I managed to do this while I am also running the restaurant Successful Business. This is our 32 years in business in Ramsgate. And also having two, my family, I have two sons and my husband. And my husband, I would say, huge thank you to my husband. Without his support, I couldn't be here today. You do need a support from your family, or you're begging from your husband, brother, sister, father, mother, whoever you're living with. So this is very important. But I think we just have to persevere and go forward, and we are making a lot of difference, and we are doing very, very well. This is what we are proud of. Marianne, I met Marianne at the Joe Cox's training program, and we have that trained so many women, graduated women, and they're becoming so much in public places now. I can see on Facebook and through social media, not only BAME women, but women from all nationality and all walks of life. So yeah, I think that's that should.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. And one of the things that you said is about visibility. We have to come out and we have to be doing things in the community. We need to be seen in those spaces. We need to be visible. And so the first part, obviously, we're talking about perseverance. I think one thing that is, and anyone can answer this question, is the fact that you have to have a clean name. I have a problem with that, because the men don't have to have clean names, what is clean for women? It's like ours is harder than the men's clean. I mean, surely should that be that there is criminal, that is not a problem. But when we start defining clean, Pauline, you've done law. What is the standard for cleanness for women? Because we're already faced with, the spaces are already difficult to get into, and now we have to be worrying about whether our name is clean, and who measures that cleanness. What were your thoughts when you heard that? Because I thought that's another barrier for women.
Okay, thank you for that. But just going back to what Melita said about the clean name, I don't think she meant it in a gender-based term. I think she just meant in general, as you go along through life, is to be the best that you can be, always stay on the right side of the law, okay? Because these are the things, we all know that when you go for certain positions, okay, you have different checks that has to be done on you from a background perspective, okay? And no matter how they're looking at you, as long as you have not done anything in the past that's going to come back and haunt you, that's the best foot forward. Like currently, there are certain jobs that I've taken throughout my lifetime, okay? And one is like being a magistrate, where they rigorously check your background. Working in a court as a criminal justice court-based practitioner, rigorously, again, they check your background. Most recently this year, I've taken on the post of the independent co-opted member for joining the members on the Northampton Police and Fire crime panel, okay, which supports the work of our police, fire and crime commissioner. Now, do you know, if you haven't got a clean background, okay, you're on a false start. You're falsely starting out. So for me, it's not about the way I see it and the way I hear it. It's about whatever you're doing in life, be the best that you can be, put your best foot forward, keep on the right side of the law, okay? Because then what you've got, first and foremost, as a BAME person or as a Black woman, say, walking into a room, one is that people are already going to be judging you, okay? So we talk about humility, we've talked about perseverance, we've talked about confidence, okay? And as we've also spoken about the fact that things are difficult in life, so people are always going to try and find something to knock you down. Now, I'm quite open in terms of what I do, the way I go about my business, but I'm also a pretty humble person, okay? So I remember growing up as a teenager, I think, you know, the lady that looked after me, my family member, my mum, okay, and she was one of the first business women from a Black Jamaican background, okay, that had businesses in Northampton when we're going through the 80s and the 90s, okay? And she was writing a profile because those days, apprenticeships were like the children in the household. Like if you've got a business, we're the ones who are doing the sweeping up to get our extra pocket money and things like this. And she was creating a profile for her business, and I'll never forget these words. And it said, Pauline is a quiet, unassuming lady. And I've taken that with me throughout my life because I believe that truly summed me up, who I am as a person, okay? So it's about how you go about your business and make sure when you're going about in life, you have respect for people, you respect those around you, know your limits, and also know that you cannot be everything to everyone. Okay, so
Pinda,
that's how I see it.
Pinda, what do you think about the issue of having your name, and how about actually having been on the wrong side of the law and using that as something that you're bringing to the table? Because then we have women who may not have started off really well, but actually that is actually their strength to bring to the table. And yeah, so what are your thoughts about that?
I think we all have unique experiences in our life, and there are a lot of things in our past that really do shape us and bring us to where we are now. So I always believe in second chances. Personally, I think, you know, people do make, you know, when you're a teenager, I mean, what I was as a teenager to what I am now, I'm a completely different person. And so this whole thing about your name being tarred and everything else, I think it's quite, I think it depends on the situation itself. But I do think as well, as Pauline said, you know, keeping on the right side of the law, and what Mariana was saying about, you know, your social media profile being clean, and just generally having that respect for people around you. I think that's absolutely key. I think people have to trust you when you're in the public sphere. They can't, you know, you can't have a background where people think you're a bit shady and they can't trust you. And I think that's why it's really, really important to have that. I mean, I'm always quite frank with how I feel and you know, conversations that I have, because I always feel that it's better to be upfront with people, you know. And one of the things, you know, one of the things I really do think that we should be honest with one another and have honest conversations. So, you know, if there is someone that is asking for your guidance, then, you know, be really open with them and try and guide them through that. You know, I'm not saying, you know, be an all-out criminal and have done loads of other stuff, and, you know, you should be able to still stand for public office. But I'm saying, you know, there are things that, you know, people have been through in their lives. Maybe they've been in a situation with, you know, an abusive partner, and they've had to take, you know, some kind of action which might have been against the law, but they've done that for their, you know, it's really depends on the situation, is what I'm saying. And I just think we're so quick to judge people. You know, everyone's so quick to you know, read a newspaper article and it said this about someone, but you don't know the, you know, the depth but behind that and what that person's been through. So that's my kind of 2 pence worth on the clean name.
Melita, before we go to the next question, you heard that I expanded on what you said. I just found it interesting. Do you have the last word on that? And then Marianne will pick up the next question.
Okay. Well, I agree with both people who just spoken.
You have to be. Oh wow, that time has come so quickly.
Is it on? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Claire to mute.
Sorry, could I just wait? There's some people who are online. Could you mute, please?
And you've done everything that
Could everybody mute?
You see that? And look at that.
Could everybody mute, please?
No.
I think it's Claire or Wanda.
You said the work.
Claire, please, could you mute? Claire, could you mute, please?
You find the one for the
Claire, can you mute, please? We can hear your conversations, please.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Could you mute? You haven't muted, please. Thank you. Sorry, Melita. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I totally agree with both conversations, what was just been said. And I too believe in second chances, because the way things are nowadays, especially with some of our young people, we understand what's going on out there, and they can get themselves into trouble. And I'm hoping that down the line that they can get second chances. But I think Pauline sums it up really well, where I was coming from, regardless of whether it's man or a woman. I think with me coming from Jamaica and being brought up with in an extended family where you're brought up with the grandparents who are very, very stern. And these are things that you've been indoctrinated in you from you're very young, to make sure you live a clean life and a decent life, So it's regardless. And our community, from the Black community, I say from the Black community, we are quick to hang on to things, make something about you. They will hang on to it forever and a day, and it doesn't matter probably what you're trying to do, because I've seen it in the community. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do, somebody would always say, well, always, they're doing this now, but I can remember, there's always that at the end of a conversation. So regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, I think it's best to live the best you can. People does make mistakes, and I'm hoping that the mistake is not that bad that you cannot continue with the rest of your life. I mean, simple things like, as a Black Jamaican, I've been brought up to respect elders, and even at my age, I'm still that respecter of somebody who I seems as older than me. There's certain people who are still called. I could not just go up to them and say Jackie. There'd have to be a Miss or a Mr. in front of it, because that's how I was brought up. So I've still got that level of respect. And I think we need that going forward. And if we're gonna get our younger generation, because I feel that's something that's missing, and sometimes that's why our young people are so easy to get into problems, because that level of respect is missing. That level of thinking about yourself or thinking about your future is missing, because everybody seems to be, because you're working, everybody seems to be the same. We're all in the same level because we're earning our own money, so we can do what we want. But, sometimes some of the things that you do further on in life have an impact on what you want to do further. If you want to travel, it'll become a problem, so that's how it is, and that's how I see it, but like I says, I'm hoping that we do give second chances to somebody, because some things probably you can do something you didn't even think about doing it, but there we are. But you still need to be able to, when you go out in public, to be able to hold your head up high, and doesn't matter what somebody's throwing from you from behind, that it's not true. You can carry that on your shoulders.
Okay, Marianne.
Thank you so much. I think when we answered the question, we've kind of answered the question of how we got where we are right now. You know, we've had the journey, and we've realized that, and we know that the journey is not easy to get where we are, because we have to address the issues around the gender prejudice. And there's nothing much we can do about that, but the more we are in this sphere, the better it's going to be for each one of us. So we need to support each other. We need the numbers. So how do we get more women interested in the public service, and what do we need to do to support each other, the ones who are already there to stay, and also to get more young people and more women interested? And when we talk about the public sphere, it's not necessarily in politics. There are other jobs that are within the public sectors that would still want representation, because we still want women in health. For example, they spoke about, if you look at the healthcare workers, women will make up maybe about 80%, but when you get to the top, when you get to the very top where you have the committees and all that, you'll get the men sitting there. So how do we encourage ourselves to go for the seats, to push ourselves forward? Because we have to self-recruit. This is the thing. We have to be confident enough to say, I am good enough. I have everything that it takes to get to the top. How do we do that? Pauline. You're on mute.
Sorry, Pauline, you're mute.
Hi, thank you for that. I'm not sure if I've got the answers to that, but what I've done in terms of, I guess, supporting individuals around developing understanding is that, for example, when I was working as a community development officer, I realized that, you know, like local government, not a lot of older people outside of school trips. They only had like school trips that they would take to like the Houses of Parliament or to the your local council offices to understand the workings of the office. Yeah. And I kind of discovered that, and like a lot of people's asking questions as in, how do I become this? How do I understand this? Mm-hmm. And I felt that part of my role in terms of supporting local people to kind of understand what local government bodies were about and how they maybe could possibly try to get involved, was to organize like trips for adults. So I remember contacting one of the local councils, and they said, well, we've never done this before. So I said, well, I know you haven't, but at the same time, it's something that we can work together on, yeah, to make it happen. And so I would like organize groups, trips for people from BAME community, anybody who wanted to get involved across Northamptonshire, and they would go in and have a look at, have a tour of, for example, the Borough Council. We'd organise trips to the Houses of Commons and the House of Lords, where they would meet like the Equality MP at the time, and have conversations with like our own local MPs and try to, I guess, join the dots in terms of understanding our local and national representation kind of work and how that evolves almost bigger into an international kind of state. And so I felt that gave people some encouragement, yeah, and some impetus in terms of wanting to engage and involve with that. And I think we did, I think that still goes on now. I'm not quite sure if it still goes on, where they have organized trips that can, for example, go into the Borough Council and have a look around the offices and things like this. But it's certainly something that I've encouraged, yeah, as part of my role, and something that I'm really proud of, actually, because I remember after one of those trips, a lady from, I guess, of Jamaican background came and said, you know, I'd love to be a councillor, get involved locally. But again, what Melita said, it's about having the time to do that. And we spoke about actually also understanding your limits and what you can take on. And so, yeah, so I guess that's me in a nutshell, kind of saying how we kind of go about doing things. Like if we know something and someone's struggling, and if you can help, you know, or if you can signpost them in the right direction, that is the way forward. But as I've said before, you cannot be everything to everyone, but you can encourage and support things to happen so that we all develop some kind of awareness or some educational understanding, because that's the only way you're going to get any type of interest, is when people know or have an understanding of how things work and what's going on around them and how they can get involved.
I think that's a really good response there. We have to create the interest, especially within the young people, in what is possible for them. And that's why it's really important that we have the role models. For me, it's challenging the status quo. As a young Black woman, what do I say? What is my representation in Parliament? The young girls who are coming up behind me, what can they say? Is there anything they can see that they can aspire to? I came across this quote and it says, if you are not on the table, if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. If you're not at the table, you are on the menu. So now, the less women we have representing us, representing women issues, there's nothing like women issues. They're human rights issues. Our issues are as important. So, but if we don't have women at the table, guess what? We are on the menu. And that's why issues around our rights are not even taken seriously. The gender gap, you know, in terms of wages, is still an issue. Maternity rights are still an issue. All the things that we want, and COVID has just brought this to the forefront, and we can see the challenges that are facing the BAME community and how important it is that we have the representation of BAME and BAME women, especially in Parliament, because we are still the minority. So, Pinda, what do you think we can do to support each other to get to the table before we become all on the menu?
So I like your example there of becoming. I definitely don't want to be on the menu.
No.
I think one of for me, I think I'm looking at the amount of grey hairs I'm getting now and realizing that actually you need to leave some kind of legacy behind, and you need to start succession planning. As you know, now's the time. I think a lot of people are so busy holding on to their seats, you know, and their power and everything that they've built, that they forget about what's behind them. So I think we need to. That's one way we need to start supporting. I can only talk about my experience in politics. I know you did say you want to hear something out of politics, but I think another way of getting involved is actually joining boards. So, you know, applying to be board members is a really good way of getting a voice, and it's about trying to influence policy, because it's when you get to that place where you can influence policy that the real change happens. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of movement on the ground level when people are saying, I want change, and I want this to happen. But it's, you know, how do you get to the top? How do you work yourself where you're able to make that policy change? You know, things like being more active as a school governor, as a starting point, being an activist in your local community, you know, getting hold of issues that you can actually change and be recognized for is really important. For someone that's trying to aspire to get into politics, I think it's, you know, there are so many organizations out there like the Forset Society, really, really good training courses they do. 50/50 Parliament, they're another group as well, and these are all kind of cross-party groups that will help different women, but they also try and help women not just in politics but get into the public sphere. So it's a very, very good way of trying to help women with training courses and so on. You know, I participate in a lot of those courses. For Northamptonshire, you know, I'm the area chair for the Conservative Women's Organisation. So for me, it's, you know, is saying I need all of my branch chairs to be women. I want them to, you know, every single branch should have a woman representing there. And that's what I want to talk to Pauline about after this. So, you know, it's about getting that representation there and bringing other women along with them. Another way that I've done it is I became association chairman. If you don't understand the term, it's basically the management team for the local area selecting candidates. and made sure that we didn't just choose the same old people. We were challenging who we were bringing, and we're trying to bring more women on board as well. And one thing I'm actually going to say the Labour Party are doing really well is having the all female kind of selection panels that you have. All women shortlists, I think, is a brilliant idea about bringing more women in and making sure that women get that chance, because quite often women don't go for it because they're so busy with their caring responsibilities. We go for the lower paid jobs because we're working part-time, because we're taking care of parents and children and trying to manage everything else. So a lot of the time what happens is we choose to take a step back because we have so much on the plate. So it's, that we were talking about the gender pay gap. How do you bring women up? How do you pay them more so that they're able to balance that, that kind of balance between public life, taking care of their children, and being able to manage, work or whatever other responsibilities they have. So really, I think it's a responsibility of women that have made it or are making it to bring other women along with them and support them and not push them down. So that's my kind of view. Thank you.
Melita, what's your take on this?
Thank you. I think the last speaker have just stolen what I was going to say. Well, some of it at least. I really agree with what she's just said, and I think outside of that, I think women in general should try to take other women with them, because sometimes I just go outside of politics for a moment, because there's plenty of people in Black women in the country or in the world who's got fantastic jobs. They've got to the top of where they want to get. And sometimes, as women, I can only speak for Black women. I can't speak for anybody else. Sometimes as Black women, once you get to where you want to get to, you forget the others behind you. And I think you need to be able to say to somebody else, I've managed to get to this stage in my life because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to help you to try and get to X, Y, and Z as well. And that is something I think is a very big thing in amongst women. We've got young people now, young girls that's coming through. And like Pindev just said, we need to take them along with us. If you've done something, if you've got women barristers, you've got women lawyers, you've got women doctors, you've got women teachers. And to me, I think these people who are in these positions should probably form networking groups to mentor young girls to say, this is what you can do. Because sometimes our young girls are leaving school and sometimes I think, I don't know what to do because I don't see anybody like myself in these positions. So therefore, I don't know what to do. I just take whatever comes along. But if they can see somebody else in those positions that they probably never thought about, it would aspire them to want to go further. It would aspire them to want to reach that next goal. And I think this is where we probably let down our young girls. By not trying to say, something, let's try and form some sort of networking groups or something that we can teach or mentor our young girls to either to become a counselor or to become a doctor or even think about it, because this is what they need. And this is what the person just says, you don't have to, not because you've made it. And I know some of us, it's difficult. We got there by hard work and perseverance, but that doesn't stop you getting somebody else to that same level, because we're not going to be here forever and a day, and somebody else is going to want to fill those gaps. And if we're going to want a decent community going forward, these are the things that we need to do as women.
Roshan, you're on mute. I can't pronounce your name. Teach me how to say it properly. Go on.
Roshan.
How do I pronounce it? Huh?
Can you? Roshan.
Roshan. Yes, Roshan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's
I agree with all. I think everybody was saying the right points. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say that, I think we need to encourage, we start from home. Like if we have a sister or mother, even, doesn't matter about the age, or our neighbors or our cousins, just, try to encourage them that we are the people who need to make a change for our society, this community, this country. So when last few years, whenever I was campaigning, I would encourage my friends, younger, older, anyone from like Asian community or from any community, that would you like to come with me? This is how we do things. Would you like to learn? And then I have managed to bring people out with me, and they really enjoyed campaigning with us. And then they become a part of, join the party, and now they, they really want to change, change the politics in our country, I think. So this is, I think, it has to come from the very root level, that younger generation, children, girls, boys from from school age. I have girls who are really doing like A levels. They normally come out with me campaigning, and they would like to go into politics. Now I know that there's two girls. They actually went to university. They are studying politics now, which is really encouraging. Yeah, I think there are other courses, and even council meetings, like now when we have full council meetings, we go online streaming. So I encourage people, go and watch this video. You will enjoy it, or if there are questions, just put forward. So encourage people to go forward this way. There are ways you can learn step by step. And the politics is not easy. It's never going to be easy. It's a very tough career for us, especially for us women who are mothers and wives, and but don't forget, we are the women. We are multitask person. We can do everything. I am talking to you same time, saying that I have a special needs son. I have a 20 years old special needs son. So I have looked after him for last 20 years. Same time, I improved my political career, step by step. And it is very hard. And I think at the same time, like my other friends says, that we need to bring others together. Don't forget, there are people who can, they will be the next person when I'm not here. So this is always the encouragement. I think we need to put it into the society, into our family, into friend circle, everyone. It doesn't have to be from someone from from Asian community, but any community. Let's encourage women to come into politics and into career, that can make our society in a better environment, and more suitable for all of us to live in.
And I think what you've just said there is so important, that apart from being in the public sphere, we all have a private life that needs to continue, and a lot of us, we at the end of it all, it's what we do in our homes that really matters to our children, to our families, and all the rest of it.
It's balancing everything.
Yeah, and I think many women at the moment may not be in the public spaces, but the family is a public space that we have to acknowledge, because whether it's our children or anyone that comes out of our house, our adopted children, everybody, when they come out, they're in public spaces. So we are being represented in different ways. So just because you're at home and you feel, oh, I'm not in a public space, this doesn't, it's not on my street, if you want. But for every woman that is out there representing us, you are in the public space, and your issues have to be on the menu, at the table, not to be eaten up. And one of the things when Marianne said that was the issue, that a beautiful story that's come out of Scotland, for instance, where period pads are becoming free for everyone. That is a huge step forward, and imagine, period poverty is so real in this country as well as all the other places. But guess what? it's the menu. The men eat it because they are selling those pads. They own the manufacturing companies. But if women say no, actually, this is a human right for every person. They should have access to period pads. Those are the kind of things that change what is on the menu if we are at the table. So there may be few women in the public spaces, but for every woman out there in the public space that is speaking on our behalf, we may be in our homes, we may be in our offices, we know that what you do matter. And when you stand out there, and when they insult or they insinuate gender kind of discourses in different ways, we know how hard it is for you guys in the public spaces. So we will have to wind out. So I'm going to ask everyone to give us the last word. Before we do that, there are questions in the background, and if you do have a question, maybe should we do that now? Let's have the questions, and then all the speakers can just give us the last word. If anyone has a question, I'll go to Danielle. Danielle has been supporting us with some of the questions.
Thank you, Constance. Reverend Amanda wants to say something, and so does Grace. Grace has got a question.
So Amanda.
Hello. Let me bring my video on as well. Sorry. I'm at work, so my video and everything also. It's very interesting to listen to all these things. Pauline, nice to meet you again. This is Amaseka, Reverend Amanda. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic that you discuss, and everybody input is really, really good. And then about how, as a woman, you have to bring yourself forward. In every area that every woman finds herself, it's not easy. Now I've taken a role as a pastor, like a reverend minister, and it's not easy, right? So everywhere you go, like people look at you and you just have to keep quiet and let the men speak and everything. So even like in a church, it's not easy. In a community, it's not easy everywhere. And then in a business, it's not easy. On a Wellingborough Road, we have like the businesses group that we have meetings. So the women, it's not easy everywhere. But all that I can say, when I was listening to all of it, all that I can say is that we just have to be strong enough, and how everybody is saying that we have to encourage one another. The networking is the strong key, that if we encourage one another and tell them that, oh, I was there, but I was able to penetrate and get to where I am, you can do it. Don't give up, I think that is the key, that the women, we can move forward, Even when you were on now talking, I just got a phone call because I've organizing a meeting, a prayer meeting for Ghana, because it's the Ghana election on Monday. So I've organized a meeting, and for a woman, it's coming from a woman. So it's not an easy thing. Somebody just called me and then said, so we are the men, why is it that is you? And him is a pastor. Question me tonight, that is the meeting, you understand? So I think that is the time I sent Danielle that I need to speak. So I needed to speak and encourage you that wherever you find yourself as a woman, it will never be easy. But if we encourage ourselves, then we can get there. And then also another point I want to emphasize is the young people, because I get myself into the young adults a lot. And then it's like they are shifting where they are going. It's not, they don't see like how you and I are seeing it and what you are talking now. So if we can, as a BAME women, if we can find a way of drawing them and then getting their interest. I've been talking to a lot of young adult people. They all want to move out from Northampton, which I think that my children are part of it. Your children will be part of it. If we don't stand up to make them something interesting and make them like get to know what we are doing, then we will lose them. It won't be that long. So that's what I've got to say.
Thanks very much, Reverend Amanda. And you're right. I think we need to be more creative to get the young people involved in politics. I hope you all have Twitter handles and Instagram and those kind of things that, you know, keeps you so busy. I'm sure you're like, I can't cope with some of the stuff that the young people are doing. I'm a Facebook and WhatsApp woman. Everything else I'm still learning. So has anyone got a YouTube or Instagram, Twitter? So that's where the young people are. So we need to kind of also get out of our comfort zones and learn how to communicate with young people. At least today we are live on YouTube, so we know how to direct them to this conversation. Danielle, who else was speaking next?
There was another question.
Grace.
She wanted to ask a question about how you get on boards, Grace, didn't you?
I think that was following Pinda. Pinda,
yeah.
you encouraged people to be on boards.
Yeah. So for me, I was asked to join the Hope Centre board, and I was also asked to join Groundworks. And I think that came from the back of being a councillor, but I also think a lot of these organisations advertise for board members. So always keep an eye out. You know, if there's a particular, for me, the Hope Centre was of particular interest because I'd experienced homelessness in my life. So it was an area that was quite close to me, to my heart, and a cause that I wanted to contribute towards. So if you've got a particular interest in a particular area, you can get in contact with those. But I'd also encourage you to join the Fawcett Society. And you know, organizations like that, because they have a lot of training things on as well that will help you kind of develop yourself, develop your skills, what they're looking for. But you know, if there's any, if you want, I can help you and send the details to you afterwards if you want to contact me. If anyone wants to contact me, I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Grace,
did that answer your question, Grace, or not?
It's kind of like, I think what it is I've heard about applying to boards before, but then I did see some advertisements and I put in my application, but all of them didn't come through. So I was just asking for, you know, you mentioned something, Fawcett Center or Fawcett, that I'd have to
Fawcett Society.
Okay.
The Fawcett Society.
Oh, so it would kind of be, because I think the information sometimes is there, but then the practical steps to actually get into it. So I did follow, Fawcett Society, thank you. So it's just something that, you know, I made almost 10 applications, and I did go for a forum, and they did advise that it's quite important for women to start getting into boards. So I asked, how do I get in? And it was apply, and I did apply, and nothing came through. So it can be quite discouraging.
Did you follow it up? You must follow it up with a conversation as well, and say, look, I'm really interested in standing as a board member, and I'd really like to get involved. What are you looking for? It's always good to have that frank conversation up front. And once you've had that conversation, they know that you're really interested and that you want to make a difference. So I don't know what kind of boards you're applying to, but actually, if you can show that you've done some work in that area, or you've had some kind of interest, that you can bring something to the board. It's not just, I want to become a board member. It's what what experiences do I have that I can, you know, bring to the table as well. So it's a combination of the two, really.
I think just to add, volunteering is always a good step forward, because if you go into any organization that you're interested in, volunteer, and volunteering doesn't mean being there every day. It just means, you know, following what they're doing, getting to know, getting into their public spaces when they're doing public functions. It's always good. But like you said, I think one of the speakers did say that women, we need to support one another. If we know that there are boards out there, and Grace, you know, you contact any one of us, you know, with your interests, we could point you to, I'm sure somebody on here will point you in the right direction. School governorships are good. Again, you know, choose a school in your area if you don't have kids. volunteer, they have feds, they have all sorts of, you know, friends of those, whichever school you want to be part of, and support them, and you know, hospices, charities. There's so many different places to start off with. So are there any more questions, Danielle?
Yes, Russo wanted to ask a question, please. Russo?
Hi, sorry, I'd put it in the chat. Basically, I just wanted to maybe just find out one of the themes or one of the points that was brought up was about having a succession plan, or really leaving a legacy. I think talking about mentoring of young people or bringing up other young women, really passionate about obviously girl child and the influence that women obviously in places of power or authority can actually support these young women. So it's a question, but also a challenge, just to say, to find out what kind of organizations or networks you're involved in that actually encourage and support young women coming up or offering mentorship of young people.
Melita, do you want to take that?
Yeah, for me, that is very, very important, because one of the things what I did, that's why I started the Black Achievers Award, and it was to give young people, young people and a platform where they could get something to take out, you know, and it's been going for since 2011, and unfortunately we couldn't do it this year, but next year we'll be doing it. But outside of that, I think it's good. I'm speaking to a lady, very good friend of mine. She's a deputy lieutenant, and we're talking about setting up a women's group. And for myself, so something that's dear to my heart, which I wanted to do for quite some time, is to leave some sort of a legacy, because I've been around a long time, done quite a bit, and I wanted to do something. So I'm looking into, at the moment, trying to get a foundation of going, and that is to look at the community, see what we can do for young people going forward, what we can teach them. And one of the things that I've got in mind is what I've said before about getting high-profile Black women to come together to speak to these to young people, to say, you know, this is what I've done, and if you're interested, I'm open that if we get it going, I'm open that these high-profile people can say, no, I can be a mentor. I live in London. Here's my telephone number. I live in Northampton. Here's my telephone number. And if there's something that I've said today that interests you, please give me a ring. And we can, you know, and that is something I would love to see develop. So this is one of the things I'm looking at.
Okay, that leads us nicely to Pauline. Last words.
Is it the last word? I just wanted to pick up on a point that was made earlier. I think it was Grace that asked, how do I become a board member? And I think it's really important that we understand that although we want to see people in positions where we can make a difference, okay, we need to kind of be following our interest as well. All right, so it's not just like, if, for example, any organization's advertising for a board member, that you particularly go to that. I think, what are the things that you're passionate about? Okay, what are the things that you feel that you want to contribute to in terms of making a difference? Okay, and then to look at your skills and abilities against, because every application's got person specs and things like this. How does it speak to me? How do I fit into it? What other skills would I need to develop? You don't have to be fully developed or fully understand everything, because part of the process is about, I guess, whilst you're taking on new challenges, you're actually learning along the way as well, that you can benefit as well as give something. And so it doesn't become that almost like the giving, and it's taking all of you, but you're almost not growing with that position. So I would say, you know, find out really what is it that I'm interested in? What is my passion? What is my drive? What are the differences that I'm looking to kind of make? And whilst we're talking about that, I just wanted to say, I don't know, like Melita and where's the other lady who's the mayor, the areas of the country that you're from. For example, like in Northampton, there isn't a specific space that anyone can go to find, in particular, people from Black, African, Caribbean backgrounds, okay? We know we've got like the Sikh Center, we've got the Bangladeshi Association and things like this, okay? And we do a lot of work around that cross diversity. We've got the Indian Hindu Welfare Organization, but because we haven't, there isn't that space where you can actually go, as in to have a conversation. Like if you go to a center, you know that you're going to come across people from, I guess, Black, African, Caribbean background. There isn't that forum, there isn't that space per se, although we have different things going on that interest people and they can join in across the town, but there isn't that one space for them to be. And I think it's really important that we understand that, because if we cannot, if something's going on in the community and we cannot engage with local young people on a level, in a space, okay, then we're kind of missing the point on that to an extent. Am I making sense? Because straight away you haven't got that I guess that immediate audience. Yeah, so you have to go around and, you know, things like this. And often I come across young people and they will say, well, how do I do this or how do I do that? And I will signpost as much as I can. Okay, but there isn't a space where you can say, if you've got others who are interested, then maybe we can come and do a little bit of a workshop or a little bit of this or a little bit of that. So that's missing. And yes, you can use other spaces, but actually, do you see what I mean? The Black, African, Caribbean community, young people, I think they're a little bit displaced at the moment because we haven't got that central place where they can kind of get together. We all know there is some difficulties around that, but it's about how we go about our business and how we manage as well. And people's got to be responsible in those spaces as well. So, you know, I'm just putting it out there that there isn't that real space that we can go to outside of a church or that kind of thing.
And I think to be fair, it's something that there are conversations around. I remember the Africa Center has been spoken about for many years now, having identified that is one of the issues. And Africa Center sounds very just African, but it's identifying what you're saying, that if we have a place where Black, African, Caribbean young people, older people can go to, that would be a hub where we can then, you know, share information, empower each other, have conversations that are probably, you know, need to be had. And there are challenges in our communities, but we don't have a central place where to address those and then make sure that we follow them through. So thanks, Pauline, for bringing that up, that is a place where we could actually start from in Northampton. And these conversations, I guess, are the beginning of some of those conversations around, okay, our friends have this center and that works for them, and they're able to pick up the issues that are happening in their communities quicker, you know, and we need to also address this particular gap that has been identified. I said it's the last word, but if you can just still come back and say the last word, because we do need to wind up. It's almost 4 o'clock. So go on, Pauline.
I just wanted to say it's been an amazing afternoon, and I just want to say thank you to everyone. And, you know, this 16 days of activism, it is really important that, people kind of visit the website, the Borough Council website as well, to have a look at and understand what support services are available to them and how they can tap into services around domestic abuse and things like this. Because I know that lockdowns lifted and everything like this, but those issues don't go away. They are daily issues, daily challenges that people are dealing with. And we don't know when we might come across someone who are in need of those services. So whether or not we need it, it's good to understand, okay, where they are, how they can be accessed, and how we can signpost people to them. So I'd say to everyone, just have a look, share the website information as well with your friends and family. Okay, and it's nice to have met everyone, and hopefully we'll see where this conversation goes after today. I must say that I was a little bit I wasn't quite sure what today was going to bring, so I've been pleasantly surprised. Okay, which
Super.
is so thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And
Yeah,
Pindi,
it has been brilliant. Yeah.
So Marianne, who do we need? Pin. Actually, we'll go back to Pinda, if you can just have a last word, what's your take on today's conversation, and you know, what you want to say to the women?
Yeah, it's been brilliant, actually. Thank you. It's been amazing to hear so many different opinions and views, and there's so many things that I've learned today as well that I could take away. I think the main thing for me is that women have to support women. You mentioned the period poverty, and it reminded me of an example where there was a lady who was very uncomfortable with me putting a red box project period, box within my office in the kitchen space, because she said the men would feel offended. So we need to challenge those kinds of conversations as well. So sometimes it's women that need to have a little bit of that, challenge back as well. So I just want to say, if there's anyone else that does need support, anyone that's listening and wants to get into any kind of, politics or needs some help with mentoring, I'm always happy to be able to help, no matter what the background is. Happy to do that. The other thing was, there was a buddy system set up for 50-50 Parliament, where they help you step by step in your journey. So whether you're starting from the beginning, whether you need to make an application of some sort, like Grace wanted to get onto a board, they're able to buddy you up with someone and take you through that journey as well. So it's really important to network with those different groups as well, because they get funding to do that.
Thank you for that. And what's your last word for the 16 days of activism?
Is that to me?
That's to Pinda. She didn't say. She told us what we can look for. Pinda, are you still there with us?
Yes,
no?
I am.
Okay,
sorry.
so Melita, do you want to give us your last word?
Just to say, I think, am I on mute?
Yeah, you're good. Keep talking.
Yeah, just first of all, I'd like to thank Danielle for inviting me, because when she sent me the invite to say, we met at regional board, and I just couldn't think, but thank you so much. And like Pauline, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what this afternoon would be like, but it's been really, really fascinating. And I think it will be good to have this conversation going forward. Some of the things that we've mentioned, about getting women in business or whatever their position, to come together to mentor our young people. I think this is something that I'm really going to push, because I think it's needed. And thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it. So look forward to the next one.
Super. Marianne is going to be standing as a councillor. So for all the other young women, she's going to go through this journey, so we can watch her, watch the space for her future as well. And so Marianne, what's your take? You've heard the women. There's perseverance. We talked about, integrity, humility, supporting one another. You have heard from these wonderful women. What's your take as an aspiring candidate?
Do you know what? I am spoiled, because I have all mentors now. So all the ladies on here today, you'll hear from me, because I need you to help me along this journey. We need to hold each other up, because one thing, as I said, we're not going to be on the menu anymore. It's not parliament by men for men, because women issues are being left out. And if you look at a good case study like in Rwanda, where they have the highest number of women MPs all over the world. This is an African country that has the highest number of female members of parliament. And the quota system there had given them only 24 women to be in parliament, which was only 30%. Guess what? Right now, they're at 64% of women in parliament in Rwanda. Now, that's a high target. That's a high bar for UK. We've got a long way to go, really a long way to go. But as I said the other night, when we're talking about gender-based violence, it's going to be one woman at a time, one person at a time. If each one of us was to mentor a woman into public service, all of us, help somebody else behind us. We are standing on shoulders of women who have gone before us. So we have us to stretch our hand back, look who is behind us, and bring them along. So I am looking upon you ladies who have gone before me, and I'm looking at you and I'm calling upon your support. And I know I have it. I know you're holding me back and you're on the way. So I'll see you. We'll see each other at the top.
At the table.
There. We'll see each other at the top. I'm coming where you are, and thank you for paving the way for me. I know for sure that we can do it. So thank you so much for today, and for sure we're coming back. Instance, I think we have said every 3 months we'll be coming back, checking on each and where we are, what the progress we've made. Wherever you are, you can make a difference. Yeah. Wherever we make a difference.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And I think this year's theme is also running on gender-based violence. We stand with the women that are going through any form of violence, control, psychological, physical violence, financial abuse. We don't take that for granted, and we know that there are women in power who are also experiencing gender-based violence. It doesn't choose what class you are, what color you are. And yes, as BAME women, we have to acknowledge that some of the issues that we've spoken about affect white women. To be specific, there are lots of intersections that we share the same issues. The only difference is that they have an issue of privilege. We have an issue of an oppressive background. That is the only difference. But in a lot of the things we've talked about, they will cross over to many women that are of different color as those that are represented here. And also we can talk about, we didn't touch on disability issues. There are BAME women who were not even able to join us because of disability issues, and so we have to remember that some of the conversations we might even be privileged to be able to sit here and give our views. But one thing we have to remember is that yes, the 16 days of activism continues. For us, it's daily, it's year in, year out. It's not just the last 16 days or before Christmas. So let's remember that, gender-based violence is real, and it crosses over to the other gender as well. Men are also violated. But for today, we would like to thank all the ladies that came on, and we have learned so much and we've been enriched. And Danielle, Marianne, it's always a pleasure to work with you in the background. And I know behind all the successful women, we have James, who's working the computers and the YouTube channel. So to James, thank you. You're there. You're the man behind and pushing us forward. So we appreciate your support, and just the Northampton Borough Council to giving us this space to be able to talk about things that affect women. And so thank you very much. And we should be getting off YouTube now. So thank you, James.